Okay, YouTubers, space sleuths, alien detectives, and ET archaeologists. Today we're looking at another Mars image of another ridgeline, and we have what looks like another head. Now, unusually, this one is near the top of the ridgeline. Normally, you find them at the bottom. So this is a bit of a different thing going on here. I would imagine there's a whole thing buried below here, and the image quality isn't great, and some of it looks like it may have been obfuscated. I'm not really sure, but the image quality has been downgraded somewhat, so they're not brilliant, but not too bad. I've seen worse, but I've seen better. So without further ado, let's go straight to the folder. There will be a link to this image and the main page as well, so you can download this and verify it yourself. Right, now before we go anywhere and carry on, I will show you the mean clip straight away, just to show you what I'm talking about. And on the back of this ridge here, near the back, near the top, we have this. Now, I'm not really sure what to call this. It looks a bit like a Bigfoot. It looks a bit like some kind of furry head with loads of kind of furry, kind of hairy structure to it. Around the top especially, you can see these textures here. Now, to me, this looks like a kind of Bigfoot or something similar, some kind of ape. It's got almost like a cat-like mouth though, which is rather odd. Now, what could this actually be? Now, I'm struggling a bit with this because it looks kind of comical, like some of the things on Mars do. They look kind of cartoonish almost, and somewhat comical. Very, very strange. Now, is this an actual mummified head, and the rest of the creature is buried in sand just below? Or is it a statue that has some kind of organic growth on it around here? This looks like some kind of organic growth. I mean, even in the raw image, when you zoom in, you can see the texture here. It's got very, very interesting texture. So could it be a statue with organic growth on it, like some kind of moss? Possibly. I have shown in recent videos similar things that look like they've got some kind of growth on the actual stone, where you have a carved object like a head with what look like kind of fungi and weird kind of mossy stuff growing on. So I couldn't prove it, but it looks very, very odd. And this does look like organic material rather than hard rock. It seems far too fluffy and textured to be rock. Very odd indeed. Let me show you the whole area, what I'll do. There's also a couple of other things along this same ridgeline which looks similar. This is an enhanced clip. You've got a head here and another possible one there, but the image quality is very poor, and the lighting isn't great either. I think this was taken on a day when there may have been a bit of a dust storm, or near a dust storm, not as severe as the one that we have up there now on Mars, but the lighting quality is pretty poor, and the fact that they've got this orange filter in the image doesn't help. So what I'll do is I'll show you I've done an enhanced gigapan here, and the Yeti or sort of Bigfoot looking thing is towards the center right. It's just right of center. Is that it? No, sorry. There it is. Right. So you have the top of the ridge here, rocks down in front, bottom of the ridge here. This is quite a low ridge, this one. It's not very high. I don't know exactly how high it is. It's probably about 10 foot or 12 feet high, possibly 15. Don't know exactly. There's no measure guide for this one, but it's much lower than some of the other ridges in the area. And there it is. You can actually see it clearer from this distance. And you've got these weird shapes in the sand here, where the sand's got wet, like here. So frost is obviously collecting on the top of this ridge here, and when the sun comes up, it's melting and running down and causing these strange shapes in the sand. But I do wonder, with some of these shapes, whether there's actually other stuff buried here, and there's interesting things underneath. and we're kind of seeing kind of ghosted out shapes like we got here, where there might be something interesting underneath the sand right there. So there it is. I'm not saying this is a Bigfoot. I don't really know what to call it, to be honest. It's a head with two eyes, a nose and a mouth, but a very long, elongated kind of shape to it, which is rather strange, but not dissimilar to some that I have already published. Those other two were right along the other end. There's not a great deal in here. I expected to find more here, to be honest, but it's quite a low ridge, this one. And if you carry right over to this side, it gets quite bright, where the Gigapan software has brightened it a bit more. And those two heads are over right in the other corner almost, over here. There's one and there's the other. But they're very blurry and not very clear. There's probably other stuff here. There seems to be what look like blocks that were once joined together that have split apart. There may have been statues along here. I don't know, but there seems to be a lot of buried stuff here, and you can't quite make it out because the image quality isn't quite good enough. I mean, some of these things look a bit like faces on them, maybe not. And some of these things are very damaged and eroded, but mostly buried. So there may be a lot more stuff here that I haven't actually spotted yet. There's another thing here that looks like it was split into two. This looks like part of this here, and it's broken. So there may have been statues along here, or there may have even been a building along here, or a number of buildings, and we're just seeing the remnants of it kind of half buried in sand. So there it is. So what I will do with that Gigapan, I'll put it on my page, ArtAlienTV Mars Magazine, and I'll put it at the top of the page and you can download it. If it's not at the top of the page, just scroll down and you'll find it. It'll be a download JPEG, probably, large JPEG. There's other articles. There's this thing I just found. A guy thinks he's found a fossilised Bigfoot head here. Maybe, maybe not. I haven't actually read that yet, so I don't know whether that's real or not. It looks pretty cool to me, actually. This on first glance. So check that out. There's the link to the original image. I just got this up as a comparison. It doesn't really look like Chewbacca, but it has that long kind of structural shape, the long head, a bit like a Yeti or a Bigfoot. Now, there aren't really any photographs of Bigfoot apart from this one. This is genuine, apparently. I don't know if you've ever researched it. Bigfoot has been inundated with a plethora of fakeness, like UFOs have, so a lot of people don't take it seriously at all anymore. And no one's come up with any recent photographs of it. This is the only decent one we have. And there's the famous one from the moving footage. And in fact, if you look at the footage and various documentaries about it, you'll find that this is not a person inside a monkey suit, because monkey suits like that didn't even exist when this film was taken in the late 60s. And the way that the creature walks isn't the way that a human walks, because apparently Bigfoots have a very different foot structure to humans. And also this is a female with breasts as well. You can actually see them almost in the image, in the moving footage. So that's, as far as I know, that's the only real image of a Bigfoot that was ever taken, and all the other stuff here is just mock-up stuff, made up. There is a kind of industry built around Bigfoot in America, a bit like there is with Roswell and stuff like that. But unfortunately, there's a lot of fake stuff around as well, and it's kind of done the subject no good at all. So whether Bigfoot's still around now, I don't know. Maybe it was around in the 60s, but they've died out. I don't know. I don't really know that much about Bigfoot, to be honest. I was interested in it a long time ago, so no further ado about that. So it kind of, the shape of it reminded me of that, and it's a bit like one or two other things that I found recently, where I found some like ape heads, mummified ape heads. There was this one from a previous video that I showed. Now, let your eyes adjust a bit. This is the side of a skull, fossilised skull, and it's either a Bigfoot or a Yeti type thing with an elongated, long skull going up, and you can see teeth here. It's not a great quality image, this one. There are better examples. That was in one of my previous videos. I'll put links to the previous videos. There was this, which looks a bit like a gorilla or perhaps some kind of similar primate skull, which is fossilized and perhaps even mummified. It seems to have some kind of hairy material on it here, but there's not quite enough detail to tell with that one because we're a bit further back. There's loads of these, and they're absolutely insane, and people think I'm completely nuts, but they're there. And the thing is, these are not anomalies because they're everywhere. Every ridgeline that I've looked at, pretty much every ridgeline, I've looked at hundreds on Mars so far. Practically every ridgeline has something like this at the bottom of it. This is let's go back a bit. It's a bit hard to focus on that. This is an ape, another fossilized ape head or skull. You see the eyes there, you see the nose, mouth, chin. You can even see it in the raw image if you let your eyes adjust. So they're there, and they seem to be kind of all over the place. Loads and loads of them. You don't seem to get loads in one area. You tend to get one or two in each area, maybe three if you're lucky, interdispersed with statues like this. So you have two heads here together. There's a statue head here which is broken off. Mouth, nose, there, nostrils, two eyes. Solid piece of stone that's split and broken away from a statue. And we have this here, whether that's actually a fossil or a mummified head, kind of looks kind of like a mummified face. It's all kind of screwed up and contorted around the mouth area here. You can see that detail there. Going a bit closer. Contorted facial features, which are conducive with mummification and desiccation when the flesh dries out, but with a sort of weird hat on. Very, very odd indeed. So there's loads of these things, and they're usually at the bottom of ridge lines. And what I'm showing you today is a very good example of that. I will come back to some of these at a later date in the next few days, because I've found so many things recently that I really can't do them all together because the video would just go on forever. There are loads of these weird sort of ape-like creatures that keep appearing, and statue heads all over the place. Here's the grey alien one that I showed in the last but one video, or a couple of videos back. I mean, these are insane. They're everywhere. This is a statue. Some people said it looks like a mask. It does resemble in style slightly some of the masks you see from Africa, some of the ancient kind of tribal art. It's got that long shape to it, but this is solid and it goes right back here, so that's part of a statue. And in fact, there's another one here, right next to it, but it's broken off, okay? Unfortunately. So there would have been two statues together there, but one of them's split and broken. There's this one that I found the other day that's a bit like John Hurt. This is from a different soul altogether, 588. What else could it be? Look at that ear, quite a clear ear there. Eyes are a bit vague, the nose is fairly prominent, chin's quite prominent, bit of a smile, bit of a grin. So that's a statue head. They're everywhere. Once you realise they're everywhere, you will find them everywhere, okay? And the place to look is along the bottom of ridge lines. Sometimes you very rarely get them on top of a ridge or halfway down. They're usually either halfway down or at the bottom, mostly at the bottom. I would imagine there are hundreds and hundreds more that are buried that haven't yet been uncovered by the wind. Okay, so I'll come to some of these other interesting ones here. Let's have a quick look at that. This is a statue. This isn't at the bottom of a ridgeline. This is out in the open, totally exposed, just by a little row of rocks. This one. This is from Sol 647. So there's loads in the area. So I will come back to some of these at a later date and do some more detail on them and show you them in full. But for now, we're going to call it a day here. I really don't know what to call this, or whether it's some kind of ape or what. I'm a bit confused by it really, because the shape is rather odd and the mouth doesn't look quite right. It almost looks cat-like, the mouth. Unless this is a kind of a primate with a cleft palate. Just there. don't know, it's probably just a shadow the way it's falling on the top lip there, but you'd expect to see a more prominent top lip without that shadow there. Don't know what's going on there. But you can see the texturing here. It looks like hair, it looks like fur. Really, really strange. I don't know what this thing is here. There's kind of a white blob thing here, where, just above the nose. You've got the nose here and a white blob thing there. I don't know what that is. This could be some kind of fungi growing on it, like I showed on some of the previous finds. Some of these things are statues with fungi growing on. Some of them may have been underwater, where they had sort of barnacles and stuff like that growing on them, and see primitive plants and creatures growing on them. Who knows? Who knows? There's a lot going on in this area, and it's quite hard to work out with some of it what you're actually looking at. Let's go back to that a minute. This one up here has got a kind of growth on it, which looks like, where is it? I've lost it now. Oh, great. There's so much. See, I've found so many things recently that it's hard to flick through them quickly. Here we are. This one here, this looks like a statue that's got fungi and stuff growing on it here, or fossilized coral, perhaps. This could be coral, or some kind of fungi here. This looks a bit like fungi, these blobs. So, and these often appear on these statues on the face, which leads me to believe that they're not necessarily statues, that they're actually mummified heads that are fossilized, and the fungi or plant material was growing off the moisture in the head, and there would have been some moisture in the head at some point. So that's a possibility. I don't know. I'm kind of pontificating there. I don't really know that for a fact, of course. I'm just trying to work out what we're looking at here. I mean, this is just insane, absolutely insane. But let's look at the raw image. Let me show the raw clip. Let's get rid of that a minute. Which one was it? Was it that one? Hang on a minute. I'm going to find which one it is. Yeah, there's the larger raw image. Okay, and you've got these weird shapes in the sand where the sand has been damp and kind of, I don't know, it's almost as if there's been something ghosted out here as well, right next to it. The image does look like it's been damaged. I haven't done anything to this. This is a completely raw clip. It's very fuzzy, and it doesn't look right to me. It looks like it's been altered. So there we are. What is it? Is it a Bigfoot? Is it another primate? Is it some kind of other creature? Is it some kind of humanoid? Could it just be a coincidence that there's dozens and dozens and dozens of head-shaped rocks that have eyes, noses and mouths and teeth and hair? I don't think it is. When you've got as many as I have on my channel, which is around about the 100 mark now, you really start to have to think again and reconfigure your paradigm on such matters as life on Mars. Okay? So there we have it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Clips coming up. I will see you soon.